The Institute of Marine Research is located in the historic west coast seaport of Bergen, the country's second largest city. The year-round outdoor market on the bustling harbour front is the focal point for daily shopping. Fruit, vegetables, flowers and plants in abundance are sold, but the fish stalls dominate the market. Virtually every local species is available, as well as many imported from other countries. Since they have become available, farmed salmon and rainbow trout have become very popular in season. The Institute itself is situated in park-like surroundings with a commanding view of the entrance to Bergen's two harbour areas. It houses facilities for a wide variety of marine research, as well as one of the finest aquariums in the world. Dr. Dag Müller, program head of the Directorate of Fisheries Aquaculture section, is in daily contact with fish farmers all over the country. He is a scientist, but he also thoroughly understands the practical operating problems of the industry, including marketing.
I think the main problem in their marketing has been that the rainbow trout was quite a new product. Nobody knew about it before. And there was some confusion because they were thinking that the rainbow trout produced in Norway was just like the rainbow trout type of fish produced down in Denmark. But we have a big rainbow trout going up to 4 or 5 kilo. Delicate, red in the flesh and things like that. So it was more comparable to the Atlantic salmon. But there wasn't any people who believed it. They have to know it. You have to send these things, product down to the Europe and see if they can, how they liked it. And so, in '74, there was a large amount of other kind of salmon coming into the European market. The Baltic Sea was open, so the catch was going on the whole winter. And the Japanese come with some fish. There wasn't a small amount either. And also the Canadians, and we have also the fish coming up from Greenland. And this went more or less together in '74. So there was some sort of a panic sale. Anyway, the sale in '75 and '76 have been very, very nice. Very high prices, in my opinion, too high. Because what we should do in fish farming is not to produce a luxury product. We should produce ordinary food for the common man. That's what I believe in, and that's what I think that if we could come to that stage, I think we could have a much, much bigger growth, much bigger interest from the government, from the people.
We are not processing salmon today, but we hope in the future, not so far away, we can do it. And that's in the way we work, to create new workplaces for people. And I mean that we must do it in our community. We shall not send the fish away. We shall not send salmon to other parts of the country or Europe to process it. We shall do it ourselves. That's the right way to do it. Just like they have on FRØYA.
Because it has been developing for several years, fish farming on the island of FRØYA has moved well beyond the formative stage seen in Herøy to become an industry contributing significantly to the economy. Most of the island's production is rainbow trout. One of the farmers is O. Maland, who operates a small plant. For many years, the plant handled groundfish and mackerel as well as large quantities of herring, until the depletion of herring stocks ended that fishery about the same time that the idea of farming rainbow trout was introduced. Mellan quickly saw that fish farming offered one way to maintain the plant and to continue to provide employment. Since he had considerable experience smoking herring and mackerel, Mellan quickly realized that he could apply his skill to produce smoked rainbow trout, which would command a much higher price than the unprocessed product, and which would increase labor and contribute even more to the economy. While the farmers of Herøy receive approximately $2.85 a pound for their salmon, if they smoked and packaged it as Mellan does his trout, the return could be doubled. The dozen or so men and women who work with Mellan on the farm and in the plant move from one processing and packaging stage to the other, according to what work needs to be done. Mellan has developed his own markets in the city of Trondheim and other centers in Norway, and he packages and prices it for retail sale right in his own plant. This is one of 10 similar scale operations on the island. Some are seasonal and no other is directly involved in farming. FRØYA, located some 200 kilometers south of Herøy, is about 3 hours from the city of Trondheim by the twice-daily high-speed Westmoran, Kongsbussen. Regular bus services provide the 5,000 inhabitants who live in communities all around the island with connections to ferries. As is true in every part of the country, a high priority has been placed on maintaining good transportation and communication links through the rural areas.
This is a fishing community. There have always been, and I think also in the future we will have this going on here.
Guttorm Reppe is in charge of a small school on the island that trains young fishermen and seamen. He was an early advocate of fish farming and has maintained an investment in one of the sea cage farms.
Let us call it the struggle of life. It will be the same here as every other place in the world. We are looking for things we can do, which is natural for the place. And fish farming, the idea comes up around 1969, 1970. And the first farm we had here was not based on business. It was based on trial things. We wanted to know if it could do these things on FRØYA, on these biotopes around here. And the trial went out very well. And we started then on business, farms, and the interest was very, very good from the population here.
It is a natural kind of thing for people who've been fishing to go to farming?
I will say that, yes. They are used to fish, they are used to net, they are used to work in the water. I think they are fit for it, and it's natural for them. Them seems to be very happy about it. We have 15 fish farms and 3 hatcheries. But there are some individual, there are some in group, but they are all from the community. And they're spending money, either spare money, they have loan from the bank here, and they also have guarantees from the community and from the government. This is a good thing. That's the way to do it for a government, to keep people living here. They give loan as well to a single person, as a group. Either it's small or big. It's just the same. I would say all these farms here, they are rather small.
Once the cages have been emptied, the rat transports the live trout to the large subsidized FRØYA fisk plant. This plant processes a variety of species, including saithe, cod and other groundfish, and capelin into meal. The farmers do not sell their trout to FRØYA fisk. Instead, the plant provides for them facilities and labor to kill, clean, freeze, and pack it for their own markets. Such cooperation between the independent farmers and the plant has not only provided a way to handle the large volume of trout at harvest time, but has also increased significantly the plant's fall employment.
For 1976, we had about 10 million Norwegian crowns, which means a lot for FRØYA. It's the amount about 500 tons. I think the farming already means a lot for the employing here on the island. We can now see people, young people, coming back to FRØYA. They are employed either with the farms or with the service for the farms. We have a repairing affair here for fishing tackles. When wild fishing slowed down, you know, they were saying, white people, they have been taking them back again because they got so much to do to make nets for the farmers.
Whereas on Herøy the fish are fed only dry, pelletized food, many of FRØYA's farmers recycle the protein waste produced by the plant. Groundfish offal is sold by FRØYA fisk to the farmers who grind and mix it with protein additives, and often with shrimp shells to improve the color of the trout flesh. Utilization of trash fish not only reduces waste from the plant and lowers the cost to the farmers, but also produces a food that many believe yields a better quality product.
We had a little struggle with the fishermen for the first time because they thought that this product was bad quality, and they were afraid we were going to spoil the markets for salmon. But now they know our products are just as good as their products, maybe better. And they accept the farms because they are in it themselves, most of them.
The The concerns of the farmers of fish are quite different from those of the hunter or fisherman. The farmer's investment grows steadily throughout the many months the fish are in his cages. And during that period he must guard against loss to predators such as seagulls and seals, through disease which can wipe out an entire farm, or by storms which can rip out moorings and tear open cages, with the loss of thousands of dollars worth of fish. But for the most part, nature has favored the development of fish farming in Norway. Offshore islands protect many coastal areas against the worst ravages of storms. And the temperature of the ocean, because of the Gulf Stream and the absence of coastal and Arctic ice, create environmental conditions closer to those of the Pacific coast of Canada than to those found on the Atlantic coast. On FRØYA, fish farming has become an integral part of the traditional fishing society, and there is justifiable pride in the fact that ownership of all the farms has remained within the community. For the farmers of Herøy and elsewhere in northern Norway, the most serious problem is to secure an adequate supply of top-quality smolt to put into the sea cages. But on FRØYA, this problem has been at least partially solved by the setting up of 3 small hatcheries operated either by individuals or by investment groups on much the same basis as the 15 sea cage farms are run. Thus, the industry on the island has been almost completely integrated, from the hatching of eggs to the processing of a quality product for market.
Many people who they know how to live in rural areas, and well, they were thinking we can't get the money we want, so they moved to the big cities. But what kind of life was it in the big city? Just being there for 2-3 years, they found out that no, there wasn't any place for them, so they went back. I think this movement of people from the areas to the big city has more or less stopped up here in Norway. And people are started going back where they was living as children. I think that's just one important factor. And also the authorities are doing very much for the people so they can stay in the rural areas. I'm thinking about communication. And I also thinking about the struggle to get work in these areas. And you know, one of the big arguments here in Norway about fish farming is that fish farming fits into that system, into that kind of thought. So, but why Norway is different from other countries, I can't really tell you. I myself trying to explore it, discuss it with my fellow Norwegians, but you are ending up with feelings. You are ending up that, well, they are more interested in that kind of work, not that high salary, and things like that. But you know, that should be equal to other countries.
The largest farm in Norway is Movi at Bergen.
The Movi operation has required high capital investment over a number of years. The company operates its own hatchery and smolt farm. 2 large enclosures for salmon were created by building concrete dams between islands. A pumping system ensures proper circulation of water, and fresh food enters the ponds through pipelines. Employing 18 to 20 people year-round, The farm is approaching a production objective of 400 to 500 tons annually.
I think that kind of farming, there is room for that in Norway. I think for many places that kind can be very good. But in big farms, people who feed the fish are employed. Here, the feeder owns his farm. And I think that's the best.
The fish farming itself can be done very easy, very simple. And I'm quite sure, I'm convinced that if you compare the production of protein in a fish farm to the production of protein, let's say, in the agriculture, taking into that calculation all different sorts of energy, oil, gasoline, manpower, things like that, feed, I think that the fish farm is coming out very, very, very good. I mean, you just can look into the setup of the fish farm. And if you are looking into the biological values, food conversions and things like that, oh, fish is much, much better. Oh, yes. So, in the different ways you are looking into these things, it seems that the values are very positive. And if you also take into consideration all the islands, the fjords, the environment we have here in Norway, the temperature in the sea because of the Gulf Stream, this seems to fit for raising salmon. We know that. Rainbow trout, the salmon fishes. And I think also that the different values fit also into what we will call the politics of the district politics, which have the aim to keep the people in the rural areas.
At Osland, near Bergen, they use it in another way. And it works very well. Osland is one of the biggest rainbow trout farmers in Norway. I think it produced more than 100 tons last year. They make the net cage run right from the land and anchor them down to the bottom. They build long wooden wharves out into the cages. To feed the fish, they have only to take wheelbarrows full of food out to the wharf and throw it into the cages. This makes a much easier work than going out by boat to the cages, especially when they are using fresh food and can't use an automatic feeder like we. And I think it's cheaper too. A fewer men can look after a bigger sample of fish. During the last years, the prices of trout and salmon have decreased and increased very rapidly. Many small farmers have been destroyed because the fish sometimes was so cheap that they couldn't work any longer. It's very important to have our own sale organization for farmed fish, both salmon and rainbow trout. And the Norwegian Fish Farmers Association are working to get that kind of sale organization.
We should have one organization for farmed fish, which put up a certain price, which control the product, so we can get some sort of the same quality, and which also control these things, and also which can handle more feed to the farm fish, which can handle the eggs, the sale of the fingerlings, and things like that. Here in Norway, we mostly are concerned about wild populations. I myself, I want very much to go over what the Japanese called fisheries, culture-based fisheries. Fisheries based on culture. And I think that if we can move more of our effort, not only in Atlantic salmon, but also in marine species, cod, herring, and I'm not thinking about 10,000, I'm thinking about millions. Millions of individuals going into the sea. I think that our whole fishery will be something different from what we have been now, more stable. And I think it also will be more meaning discussing over 200 sea limit economic fishery zone, or I'm not quite sure about the names there. We have the oil fields in Norway, which have a background for all these things. But I also think that the fisheries, in thinking along these lines, could play a very important part. And you know, the production in the sea is incredible. Very much of that production today have a dead end, you probably call it. So there was something very important to me, in one way I would say serious, that when in the 70s that the people here in Norway discovered that they can use the sea to something else than just catching fish and transportation. They also can use the sea to culturing fish or farming fish. And I hope that there was some sort of a turning point, not only for farming fish, but also into a culture-based fishery. I believe that we can have a culture-based fisheries and fish farming, just working together.
Fish farming developed in Norway in a manner totally appropriate to the physical and social environment of that country. However it may develop in Canada's coastal waters, it must be quite different, just as environmental factors, political and social structures, and marketing problems are very different. Yet there is much to be learned from the Norwegian example of practical development of natural resources, and from their cooperation and their encouragement of community participation and small-scale enterprise. For Canadians, there are many unknown factors that must be dealt with before fish farming can truly become an industry on either coast. These include selection of species and adaptation to environmental conditions, the creation of new marketing structures, and the development of suitable social and economic policies. But the time is ripe to move from simply asking questions and posing problems to seeking answers and finding solutions.